Hi, I'm Fiona, and in this demonstration I want to show you how to work the knit front and back increase. This increase is also sometimes known as the bar increase. The main reason for that is it creates a little bar on the right side of the knitting in stocking stitch when it's worked, and the bar comes to the left side of the increase stitch. So this stitch here was where the increase was worked, and that's the increase to the left of it. So when you're working in a piece of knitting where you want to have the same number of stitches on the selvage, you have to remember that at the end of the row you have to work the increase one stitch further in than you did at the beginning of the row, because the little bar comes from the stitch next to it, not from the left hand side. So to work this increase, we're going to start, and I prefer to work at least one stitch in from the edge rather than working the increase right on the edge, so that if again it's in a garment or item that needs to be sewn together, you have a nice line of stitches to provide you with a neat seaming edge. So I'm going to knit the first stitch. At the beginning of the row I want to do my increase, which I'm going to now work into the second stitch of the row. So I go into the stitch as normal, but I don't drop the stitch off the left needle. I'm going to bring my right needle round to the back of the stitch, and I'm going to knit through the back of the stitch, hence the name knit front and back increase. If I now knit across to the end of the row, I want the little bar to sit at the same position in relation to the edge as I have at the beginning of the row. So at the end of the row I have to knit to the third stitch from the end, knit to the front of the stitch, bring the needle around and knit into the back of the stitch, and then knit the last two stitches. By working that way, it places the bar the same distance from the edge on each side. So if I now just work a purl row, there are occasions when you may be required to increase every row, but generally you were doing increases at least 2 rows apart. So you would normally have in a stocking stitch fabric a purl row before you do your next increase row. This particular increase is very good in garter stitch. It does still work well in stocking stitch, but because of the bar it is more visible. But I'm going to demonstrate again. So we've got knit the first stitch, I'm going to increase in the next stitch, so I'm going to knit into the front of it as normal, leave the stitch on the needle, bring the needle round and knit into the back of the stitch, and that's where the little bar is. Knit to the last 3 stitches at the other end, and again I'm going to knit into the front of the stitch as normal, leave the stitch on the needle, bring the needle round and knit into the back of the stitch to make the increase, and then knit the last 2 stitches. And if I then purl the row again, it's much easier to see what the increase looks like. This is often shown as a beginner's increase because it's a fairly straightforward working increase. So if I turn it over again, a lot of the time it doesn't matter, but you can see sometimes the little bar making a visible effect in the stocking stitch. In garter stitch it disappears completely, so it is an ideal increase for garter stitch. That's the knit front and back increase.